Pol Pot's rule of Cambodia. Pol Pot was born Salah Tsar in Pek Spao, 1925. In 1949, he went to Paris on a scholarship to study radio technology. Through his time there, he got involved in active communist circles. Pol Pot eventually returned to Cambodia and became a teacher, all while plotting a revolution. He became a party chief after reorganizing the Khmer People's Revolutionary Party, set up under North Vietnam. In 1968, a national uprising was launched with Khmer Rouge, a proto-communist party, which slowly led to their control of Cambodia. Pol Pot set out to purify the agrarian society. He believed that no one in society should be poor, nor should anyone be rich. He declared that each civilian be put to a peasant level and just work. He wanted a very singular Cambodia with one same type of people. He was an extreme communist who set out to fulfill his wishes by leading the Khmer Rouge. In 1970, a civil war broke out between Cambodia's Prince Sihanouk, allied with Khmer Rouge, and General Lon Nol, allied with the US. 5 years later, in 1975, Pol Pot marched into the capital, Phnom Penh. He and the Khmer Rouge ended the war, but their rule of Cambodia began. Everyone was ordered to work, and anyone who threatened the regime was killed. These especially included Chinese, Muslim Chams, and Vietnamese. After 4 torturous years, Pol Pot was finally driven from power in 1979. He was conquered by a Vietnamese invasion, but that didn't stop Pol Pot. He convinced Asia and non-communist groups that the Khmer Rouge government was unlawfully overthrown, and Cambodia was then placed under international sanctions. Both Thailand and China were big contributors to the Khmer Rouge. The Khmer Rouge represented Cambodia in the United Nations up until 1992. When Pol Pot took control, all citizens were deprived of their basic rights. Cambodia was completely transformed. Schools were shut down, money was abolished, religious practices and churches were not allowed. People weren't even allowed to have conversations or any means of transportation. Even until today, many survivors of Pol Pot's rule are forever scarred. Victims continue lives with mental and physical disabilities because of the Khmer Rouge. This event is also a huge contributing factor to Cambodia's present-day poverty. All Cambodians were involved in Pol Pot's rule. About 1.5 million were killed out of a total population of about 7 to 8 million. The reason for so many deaths was because Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge believed only pure people could survive and be a part of the revolution. Anyone who was highly intellectual, politically respected, or a minority group was considered impure. All others were sent to prisons and detention centers to be tortured and executed. The S-21 was the most important and famous detention center in Cambodia. It was also a secret kept from civilians. It was formerly a high school called Srol Sve Pre, but was taken over by the Khmer Rouge. Each prisoner that entered S-21 was interrogated and photographed. S-21 was known for having pictures of each of its victims to ensure their leaders of their obedience to orders. Siswath Duong Chanto was born in Phnom Penh, Cambodia in 1970. She wrote a document about her father, who was killed by the Khmer Rouge. Siswath talks about how her father was punished and killed, gaining her knowledge from Met Chan, who was involved in her father's punishment. Her father was an innocent and patriotic man who was taken from his family. He was kicked and beat from the moment the Khmer Rouge took him. He was left in a basement all chained up for several days without food or water. He was then taken to the killing grounds and hit 3 times with a metal rod in the back of his head. He died thinking about and calling out for his family. Pol Pot died not too long ago, on April 15th of 1998. At the age of 73, he died of heart failure after already being ill for a few months. In 1997, members of the Khmer Rouge put Pol Pot on house arrest for the rest of his life. They were worried he was going out of control. The night Pol Pot died, he had just found out that the Khmer Rouge agreed to turn him over to an international tribunal. Of course, because of his death that same night, he was never put on trial.